So I saw the movie Civil War today. It is probably one of the most exciting movies I've watched in a very long time. I've been waiting for this movie since I saw the trailer last year, and it did not disappoint. Um, to give you a synopsis of the movie is about a civil war within the United States. There are no identifying features of this civil war. It does not tell you how it starts. It gives you an idea of how it ends. Otherwise, it's four journalists, three actual journalists, one junior journalist, I guess you would call it, who are traveling from New York to DC, photographing and documenting all that is going on within the Civil War. From the rapid violence and gunfire to the millions of dead bodies that are littered throughout the movie. It combines the elements of a world-ending movie, a disaster movie, horror, and a war movie. So if you've ever seen Battle Los Angeles, it kind of has that sort of feel to it. Or I was going to say Saving Private Ryan. Like, the opening scene of that movie is kind of like littered throughout this entire movie. I don't think it really gives you a space to breathe or whatever. I think it's I think the pacing was great. I think the action was phenomenal. The cinematography for this movie, especially for the last 20 minutes, was insane. Like, I couldn't really imagine being an actor or just anybody doing that scene even once, or having to do it like every day for God knows how many months or weeks, and then editing it and putting it together that had to be the most difficult task of all time, but they were able to do it. This movie starred Kirsten Dunst as Lee, the main character in the movie, and then there was the junior journalist. I don't remember her name. She is a proverbial young Lee, as you see throughout the movie. She kind of starts taking after Lee's footsteps. Lee teaches, or I guess tries to teach this young journalist how to document in such a hell zone that is this world. There was a character in the movie who usually you would think would be used as a sacrifice, and maybe in this case that he was, but he did not disappoint in his portrayal and in his presence within the movie. I'm glad the movie didn't just take this overarching, oh, we're just going to throw you to the wind because you're this type of person, and instead actually use this character in a meaningful way. In fact, I will say during this movie, there's a scene in which if you've ever watched the trailer for the movie, where the orange-haired man asks the journalist, "What kind of American are you?" During that whole scene, I actually forget that there's another person in the movie who's not on screen at the moment, or during that time, and it was a genuine surprise when that person came back in on screen, because I was like, oh, I forgot that you were there, because the scene of the "What kind of American are you" was such an encapsulating and like, it's not a funny scene at all. It's a terrifying scene, and I think what makes it terrifying is that the people that are acting in the actions that are being taken are being acted upon just regular human beings and not monsters or aliens, and it's other regular human beings doing this to other people, if that makes any sense. You'll have to watch the movie to understand what I'm talking about. I will say that if you don't like blood, gore, violence, or bad language, then don't watch it. But if you are someone who can handle that type of thing, this is definitely a movie to watch. It's definitely a good movie for the first. I don't know if this is the first quarter of the year, but other things about the movie, the acting was great. The last 20 minutes, as I said earlier, was such a it's so, you can't even really put into words what the last 20 minutes of the movie is. It's just something you have to watch. I guess if I were to put it in an actual comparison type of format, it's like watching something that you know has happened in real life, but you watched it firsthand. So I guess if I were putting it in even more words or more of a comparison, it's like watching a terrorist attack unfold in real life. It gives you that kind of like awe, sort of, I don't know, it's like you can't believe you're watching that, and you cannot believe that that is something that's happening. And yes, I know it's fake, but it's so real. I don't know how to put this into words, really. You just have to really watch the last 20 minutes of the movie. Hell, watch the whole movie, because the whole movie gives you such a rundown of all types of things that I think America encapsulates, especially the last 20 minutes in terms of the characters, because the last 20 minutes you're watching the 3 journalists, and then you're watching 4 or 5 army men, or whatever they want to be called, do this close quarters, one shot sort of scene. Kirsten Dunst's character is seen somewhat passing the torch, I would call it, to the young journalist in the last part of the movie. And I think it was wild to watch an action take place in the last part of the movie that was predicated on in the first part of the movie, or not predicated on, but discussed in the first part of the movie. But I had forgotten that it was discussed in the first part of the movie. So to give you some perspective on how I watch movies, ever since I started watching CinemaSins, I have been kind of going through movies and like seeing where the inconsistencies are within the movie. And for this movie, I couldn't do it because it did not allow me to do so. I wasn't expecting this movie to be as it was. It just was. So usually I can think back to another part of the movie if they reference it later in the movie. Avengers movies do this a lot, or Marvel movies do this a lot. Comedians do this a lot too. I think all the time in their stand-ups, where they'll mention something in the first part of their stand-up act, and then that joke will come full circle at the end. This happened here in this movie. I guess if you watch it, you'll have to figure out which line I'm talking about. But that's it. That's all I have to say about the movie. 10 out of 10, I guess. I have nothing else to add for the movie. Yeah. Good movie. Good presence. Directed by Alex Garland. He's directed, I think, 23 Weeks Later and some other movies that I've never seen. I'm glad this is the first one I have seen. A24 has done a fantastic job once again putting together a movie. I don't know how many A24 movies I've seen, but it's kind of wild how one movie studio has been able to produce movies that are so well shot and so well produced that it's like you're watching the movies that you wish movies were. And that doesn't make any sense to anybody. But what I'm trying to say with that line is that a lot of people think movies are really boring, boring. I was going to say consistent. I don't know if that's such a bad quality, but boring for sure. and A24 movies offer you a different level of cinematography and acting that I don't think you get with just regular old movies. It probably doesn't help that most movies are remakes these days, or at least the ones that they really push out. They're either remakes or they're re-inspired. I don't know. Live action stuff. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough of me talking about this movie. Go watch it if you want. Don't watch it if you don't like violence. But it was a good movie about journalism, what it looks like to be a war journalist. I think maybe that's what it doesn't look like. Maybe it was completely over the top. But I feel like if such an event like Civil War would have happened in the United States, and there was a documentation of it, that sort of documentation that Lee did in that movie is what would be needed to document it fully and the horrors that such an event would bring upon. All right,